Hey there, everybody. Welcome to my channel, or welcome back if you've been here before. If you haven't and you would like to subscribe, hit the thumbs up, all that good stuff, I would really appreciate it. Thank you to everyone who has subscribed and who comments. I really love and appreciate you all, and I'm so excited to be here. I knew this took me a little while. My life has been craziness for the last week and a half, and I think I'm gonna go ahead and wait till the end. So if you stick around to the end, I'll probably give a few minute update about all that's been going on with me. In the meantime, I'm so excited because I have realized how much of a great stress relief and outlet this is for me. It's been killing me every day that I haven't got this video out, or the other way, or any of the other ones I have planned. But I think I kind of have it figured out in my head where I can squeeze all this in, because it really is important to me. And I love talking with you guys all the time about 90 Day and just our lives. And it really means a lot to me. So thanks for being here. And with that being said, I'm going to start off with talking about 90 Day Fiancé, Season 10, Episode 2. We are gathered here today. I'm going to go ahead and just start off in the order I have them here. We started off with Ashley and Manuel, and she's, still in a panic on her way to the airport. She says that she's ugly crying, and, she is. She's worried because she hasn't heard from him in hours. She isn't sure if he got through immigration. Or, if he's going to make it. They waited till last minute to get him over here. So, of course, his visa is expiring the next day. But she's finally breathing it out. She arrives there. Her sister meets her there with tissues and medicine. I'm not quite sure what the medicine was, but, hopefully it helped calm her down. Immediately she starts losing it. She's crying. Her sister, she's hugging her. She's there for her. She tells us that it's just real now. Before it was kind of just a fantasy of him, and now it's hitting her hard. She's ferociously pacing the airport. They seem to be the only people in this whole airport for some reason. She was pretty empty, and she's worried about him making it, but she's impatiently waiting. She sees him, she cries, they hug and kiss. They have their cute moment before everything's going to hit the fan in a couple days, maybe minutes, who knows. And he's talking to her, right in front of her face. I'm like, oh, that's just hot breath. Ugh. But she says seeing him come off the plane was the sweetest relief. She pulls a Jasmine in the interview and decides to cover this man in lipstick. And then she finally brings him over to meet her sister. They hug it out. And he's telling us, 90 days isn't a long time to get married. They should make it 120. I thought that was funny. Her sister made a sign, so, he enjoys that. Later, we see them walking all jolly out the airport. The sister was literally there to bring the sign she made. I don't know why she couldn't give her that at the house earlier when she visited. But she brings the sign, and she was there to, calm her down. And that was about it. So they give hugs, they walk to the car. Sister leaves, they part ways. He says his first plane ride was like a roller coaster, up and down, and he couldn't breathe. He thought the engine just turned off in the middle of the air. He's like, what do I do? What do I hold on to? He had no idea. But then she's sitting there speaking Spanish pretty well in the car, and I thought that she didn't speak Spanish, or they didn't speak the same language, so I feel lied to. She doesn't do it fluently, and it's not perfect, but it's Danielle quality, I would say. He's surprised that there's so much nature around them. He wasn't expecting that. They finally get home. Every time I see her tapestry on the wall, it throws me off because I have the same one above my bed. I'm always like, are they at my house? Who let them in? But anyway, they're walking in the house. All you hear is the dog barking. And he immediately notices her meditation station. And we find out the dog's name is Rico Suave. The house doesn't look that clean on the outside, and it didn't seem that clean to me. But she was like, "You need to take off your shoes." And I'm like, "But why? It's dusty." Anyway, she has a cat, Lyra, and, he doesn't like cats. He says he doesn't like cats where they're from. You'll borrow a neighbor's cat because you might get mice in your house or something. But here in the city, they're just pets, and they feed them and feed them and feed them. And it doesn't benefit him at all. Unless you have mice, I guess. So she's showing him the house, and she's like, "Look." It's almost like when the pilgrims came over to bamboozle the natives. And she's like, "Look, hot water. Wow, hot water, so fancy. Can you believe it?" Like, it was really weird the way she was showing him the hot water. And he's like, "What do you need hot water for? It's hot outside." And she's like, "For dishes and to shower." He's confused by the hot water. I don't know, but he thinks it's nonsense. So she gives up on that. She thought he would be stoked. He was not. She shows him the living room. It's very spiritual, full of crystals and cards and things. It's basically like what my room looks like. I don't keep those things like out in the house around my kids because they will destroy it and show no mercy. It has happened. One time my son, he got loose at some point. Early morning, I'm not sure. But I used to have a bag of my tarot cards in my living room. And this boy dumped like 4 or 5 decks on the middle of my floor. And then proceeded to dump out a box of Cheez-Its and a bottle of water. And he had himself a party. And most of those decks were destroyed. So I learned my lesson. And we don't keep those things out and about. But if I didn't have children, that's basically my vibe. So I enjoyed it. She shows him the singing bowl. And I'm like, is it just me? Or when she talks about her witchy stuff, she comes off like with this snotty attitude, like condescending or like better than, she has like a defensive attitude about her. But maybe she's just that way in general about everything. I will have to see her more to decide how I feel about that. But she's like, I'm starting to introduce him to my witchy practice. But she's doing it in baby steps so she doesn't overwhelm him. It's important for him to know all of that before they get married, though. She's like, "Look, this is our bedroom." And he says it looks nice. And then he brings up about how the dog is going to be sleeping outside the room from now on. And then he's like, "Why don't you have a door?" She's like, "I don't like a door." And he's like, "But then the dog and cat come in and out and do whatever as they please, basically." And she's like, "Yeah." So he gets upset. He's like, "I'm going to sleep on the couch and the dogs can sleep wherever. I don't care." And I'm thinking, well, what's the difference? Like, if you sleep on the couch, the cat's more likely to sleep on you. And the dogs, they're still going to bother you no matter where they are. Especially if you're just out in the open house. But the whole house is open. So there's no safety for him, even if he sleeps on the couch. But, he wants a door. He's getting a door tomorrow, he says. And he's okay with pets, but they need to know their place, basically. They can be there and play and sleep, but just like, they can be in there to play with them, but not to sleep. And she's upset that they can't all sleep together, and she's like, "It won't be a problem." Then she's in the interview, and she tells us, like, her dog has been there through all of her partners, and they leave, and Rico Suave's still there. So the dog can sleep where he wants, basically. She's asking him, so like, now she's back in person with him, and she's asking what the problem is with the dog. And he's just not used to sleeping with animals. And she's like, "Well, you're not used to all of this. You're not used to the city, the country, the plane, the hot water. But look, there, change is good." And he's like, culturally, or she tells us culturally, He's used to telling people what to do. And she's from a strong, independent, woman of color family. And she was raised in a family where the women ran the show. So this guy's going to have to figure it out. But when she's talking to him, she's crying. And she's not so tough. And, in her interview, she's all big and bad. And, he's just going to have to fall in line. But she's in front of him and she's like, he's been sleeping with me for 10 years. And she's just crying. She's not all tough girl. She doesn't want him to feel like, she doesn't want her puppy, well, he's not a puppy. She doesn't want Rico to feel like this guy shows up and now he can't sleep with his mama. She's crying and she's like, I don't know why you're fighting with me on this. It's fine. He's sleeping with us, And he's like, I know I'm not her husband now. He can go back any day, if he wants. But if she wants to be his life partner to him, she needs to compromise and, not be the only one to make decisions. So we get a break from them. And they come back later and she's lecturing him about using too much toilet paper, things like that. And they have a seat on the couch. And she says that while they're sitting there, the dog's jumping up and he's trying to get the dog down. And the dog's jumping up and he's trying to get the dog down. And she's hoping that Manuel is going to learn his place and realize that the dog isn't going to listen and the dog is God. What is wrong with this lady? So she comes in with an incense burner and she's like, okay, now we have to do this thing before dinner. Now that you're living with a witch and things are different. And he's like, what witch? He says, witches do people harm. She's like, you've known me for 10 years and am I evil? And he says, no. And she doesn't hurt people either. So he doesn't think she's a witch. He says, if she was really a witch when she broke up with her ex, she would have cast a spell on him to bring him back to her. And she didn't do that, so she's not a witch. I thought that was really funny. That's not how it works. People have free will. You can't just do that. Most of the time, if you're going to do a love spell on someone, it'll generally backfire on you. Plus, doing spell work on people always does come at some cost to yourself. So I could see why she wouldn't have done that. Plus, if she wanted to be done with him, there's so many factors. And this guy isn't law on, who's a witch. So she tells him he has an incorrect thought of witches. And, if he knows what the word means, or he asks her if she knows what the word means. She says it's a person who uses spirituality and that kind of stuff to better their life. And she tells him he needs to understand that her work is witchcraft, but he still doesn't think he's a witch. He's not a believer. But then all of a sudden the doorbell rings and dinner's there, DoorDash on its way, saving the day. That should be their new slogan. She says, that she's still happy this is happening and they're not arguing on the phone and they're in person and all of that stuff. So then he decides to Google witch, and it's a person who obtained magic from the devil, basically. So they only do harm, he says, which isn't true. Witches don't worship the devil. Those are Satanists. Witches mainly worship the earth, the elements, things like that. So devil worship, I guess. He's like, don't tell me you're a witch. I won't marry these people. And she's like, are you finished? Because I'm about to eat. He says they can't do anything if she won't listen or understand. So she decides to leave for some fresh air, aka have a smoke. She's telling the producer the witch thing will be hard because he's looking at old definitions. She says, I'm a mother effing witch, ho. Get used to it. I want to get that on a t-shirt. Someone make me the t-shirt, please. That was good. He says this hurts him because he's a Catholic. And, that's true. Catholic and Latino people in general don't like brujas. They don't like witchcraft. They think it's very evil. So she knows that. I don't know what she's expecting here. she's not okay being judged by him, and she won't be, going against her beliefs to marry someone who doesn't respect her or her work. So they have some work to do. It's like, I would say so. You really do. Especially he wants to be the man of the house. You want to be in charge. He thinks witches are evil. He's telling her she's not a witch, and she's saying she's a witch. That's the same as if, like, I said I'm a Christian, and someone's like, no, you're not. You don't own a Bible. Or, no, you're not. Christians don't have tattoos. Or whatever it is. That's none of your business. You can't tell me what I am. And you can't tell me the definition of what I am. So I don't like that. I'm not a fan of her attitude. I don't think I'm going to like that either. But I do enjoy that it gives me an opportunity to at least correct some things here. Because I hate when they portray these things wrong on the show. At least I can give my opinion and my 2 cents on how I believe it works. So that's all for them this week. Next, we're going to move on to Nikki and Justin, aka Igor, which thank you all for your help when I expressed my issue with this name. I am going to go with Igor from now on and only use Justin when I can, or it feels like I have to. But I think everyone in his life calls him Igor. He introduced himself as Igor today, so I'm good with it. Actually, side note, I really love the movie Igor. It's a little cartoon, and it was one of those movies that I watched a bunch even before I had kids. So if you haven't seen it, check it out. Anyway, Nikki is packing up for her trip to Moldova. She says it's been 9 months since she's seen him, so now she's off. She's going to go do that. Her mama shows up to help her. Her name is Myrna. I wonder if she renamed her mom. She says her mom is supportive, but she finds it ironic because she didn't like Igor last time. She says when she originally decided to transition, her mom also wasn't supportive and thought she was a freak, and that she was like, and that was hard for her to deal with at the age of 17. So when she was 17 till 19, her and her mother didn't speak. And eventually after that, she accepted her, and they've been close for years. So her mom's there. She's helping her pack. She's commenting on her clothes. She knows that they're going to be a problem there. And her mom always worries because they aren't very accepting of trans people there. And then Nikki's telling her, she's nervous to meet his mom and family for the first time. And, it's hard for them to hear that their son is in love with a trans woman. She says the mom accepted it to her, but she's not sure how they're going to be in person. She knows it isn't an easy thing because it wasn't easy for the mom. The mom says she knows it. She tells her mom she knows it wasn't going to be easy for his parents because it wasn't easy for her. The mom cries, telling us how, she wasn't there for her when she transitioned. And it's not that she didn't love her, she just didn't understand. And she's going to regret it the rest of her life. So she hopes that Igor and his parents accept and love her. She tells her mom she hopes he's ready because just with her coming there for 3 weeks, his friends are scattering all over the place. They're all walking away from him. And she said he told her he's getting rejection from his friends, and it makes her feel bad, like she has a disease or something. And the mom's like, at least he's told his parents that, he loves her, and he's told his friends, and that's a good sign that he loves her. And maybe he's apprehensive and afraid because, of his country. They don't know what kind of hate they have over there. She starts crying, and her mom hugs her and tells her, they're going to get married and have a good life. The first step is telling his parents, and now it's going to be good from here. She tells us the K1 is about to be approved, and this trip is super important for her. They have a lot to discuss. She needs some reassurance, that he has everything she needs in a man because she isn't reliving him coming here and then getting sent back again. But she just isn't sure with how things are now. And I think that's smart of her to do. You know, go over there beforehand, check it out, see how it feels. Nothing wrong with that. Most people on here don't even, like, they meet because they have to. You know, it's like they have to prove that they have a relationship, but they don't do enough research. So I think that that's good. All of a sudden later, we see Igor from some questionable angles. He's working out. He introduces himself. He says his friends and family calls him Igor, but Nikki calls him Justin. He says that she does that because he looked like JT. I always call him that, JT. He was my first love. In sync. Those were the good old days. Anyway, he says he's a personal trainer. He works out 5 or 6 times a week. But fitness is important to him, not for looks, but for like mental clarity. It helps him with stress. It makes him feel good. He says he's nervous about her coming tomorrow because she is trans and people in his country are narrow-minded. And she likes to go out with a lot of makeup and nice dresses. But that just draws attention and he's worried about her safety. So he goes and meets up with his friend Sergey. It's his best friend. He knows about everything with Nikki and he's accepted it. And now they have a stronger friendship and understand each other better. So they sit to play chess. And I think that's pretty cool. We need more chess parks out there. People can use some brain power. So he tells him he's stressed out because Nikki's coming. And he's like, focus on the game. Like, focus the stress on the game, you know? And he's worried because she's meeting his whole family. But they know that she's trans. But he didn't tell them until recently. So, of course, his mom was shocked. His friend tells him when he found out a year ago, he was dumbfounded. So here I'm learning, and we're all learning, that they've known each other about 17 years. So it's been about, let's say, 14 years since all this happened. I'm being generous. He kept this deep, dark secret, I bet, all these years and didn't tell anybody what had happened to him. And he was living in all this, like, mental stress and, like, having issues with his sexuality and things because he had no one he could trust to talk to about this. That's terrible. He says he never even met a trans person before, so he was shocked, you know, because apparently that's not a thing there. And the friend asks, you know, how he found out that she was trans. He says she blurted out something about she should have been born a woman, but she wasn't. And he said he was psychologically damaged by it. And it was the first time that he was with someone who had a sex change. He says they were intimate many times. And when he found out, he packed his things and left for home. And after that, you know, when he started telling people, his friends, they rejected him when he was expecting support. And he says it took a few years, but he reconsidered her role in his life. He wanted her as a friend. So they would send jokes to each other, and then they started talking more, getting closer. He decided to give it another chance. And he doesn't know exactly what to expect, but he knows he's older and wiser now. And he says when he found out that she was trans, it made him question if he was a normal guy or not. And it took him a few years of self-searching to be okay. But he's more open-minded now. And he's looking for a woman, and she's a nice, kind woman. His friend asked to see a photo of her. And I'm wondering, like, he's never seen a photo of her in this year. He never asked, but he does. And says, you know, she's prettier than girls there or something. And he's like, yeah, she had a lot of surgeries. And now she looks more like a woman than she did before. And that helped calm him. This whole thing made me uncomfortable, honestly. I don't know what to think of it. The guys decide, like, oh, let's go ask these old grandpas playing chess if Igor's woman is hot or what. And they agree. They think she's a bombshell. And Igor says that they're saying all this now, not knowing who she is, really. And if they did, they wouldn't accept her. And I wonder why, like, he accepts her, because It sounds like he doesn't. Like he couldn't accept that the old grandpas just thought that, and they weren't that old, but he couldn't accept that they thought that she was hot. He had to be like, well, if they really know, they wouldn't think that. Like, this man should have went to therapy. I feel like he just hid all this for years and buried it deep down. And why he's back with her, I have no idea. But, you know, buckle up for this train wreck, guys. Okay, let's talk about this couple, Rob and Sophie. I don't know who they remind me of. They remind me of a mix of Jabri and Miona and George and Amphisa. So far, we're 2 episodes in. It's a mix of them. Let me know who they remind you of, if anybody, because that's the closest I could get. But Sophie's at the airport. She's off to LA. Meanwhile, Rob is out here loading up his water in his trunk. And his trunk needs a wooden board to hold it open. Oh my gosh, I died laughing way too hard at this. I can't wait for the first time they go grocery shopping and he pulls out his wood board. So, he's trimming up his face, trying to look good and get everything ready for his performance at the airport. On his way there, he says when they got engaged, there wasn't a ring or a proposal, so he wants to give her a princessy one because he knows what she wants. He tells us his plan of the dance with roses and proposing and then having a candlelit dinner outside his house. Like, so romantic. Candlelit dinner in the hood. But it's the proposal she deserves. Then she tells us how bad her flight was. She almost missed her connecting flight, but she made it. She says she looks so bad and smells bad. You know, just in time for all the romance. Our guy's got the flowers and he's ready for his 90-day adventure. He's worried he's going to forget his dance. He's being so nervous. And all I remember of his dance was this. Like, he was pledging allegiance and stuff. So, she's walking out and he, like, stops her with his hand. And she's so confused and so red. She looks embarrassed. He does this cringy dance. Runs up to her with the flowers. They hug. They kiss. She says he's corny. And if someone else, like a British guy, did it, they wouldn't get anywhere with her. But he's American, so she allows it. They start to walk away. And he stops her again. He gets down on one knee. Asks her to marry him. She can't believe it. Eventually she says yes. Jet lagged and all. She said as a kid she didn't think of marriage. She just never thought of it until she met him. And, you know, he could get her a visa and bring her to America. Close to LA. You know, a stone's throw from LA. Or, what, you know, the part she wants to be in. She says she doesn't know why he chose the airport. And he says because he didn't do a proposal. And she has to say yes to him before she gets to go enjoy LA. And I just can't with these two. Rob is excited. He pulled off the proposal he knew she wanted. And she was surprised. He's humble. He's patting himself on the back. They're having some issues, like with Rob breaking the elevator. I never cared about anything less in my whole life. And it turns into like these tense moments. They're bickering. Like, who cares? So eventually she's getting claustrophobic. They can't get out of the elevator. He says her bags are too heavy. He's trying to lighten up the mood and make a joke. You know, so it's her fault, not his. She's completely blaming him. Like, well, you hit the button a million times, so it's your fault. Again, I'm like, who cares? She says she's tired. It's like 4 a.m. to her. She's had a stressful incident at the airport being proposed to like that. And all these flights. And now he's making the elevator thing harder. He's kind of like, he's not really talking to the producers, but he's looking at the camera guy or the producer or whoever. And he's basically like, this is crazy. Wow. Can you imagine all the people who use this elevator? And it happens to us. And she's like, you hit the button 6 times. Finally, he smartens up and he hits the call button. And she's like, who's going to answer? No one's going to pick up. And he's like, people who work at the elevator company. She's not buying it. She's like, that's stupid, basically. But they immediately answer. The guy saves the day. She's like, we're stuck. They're both yelling at him. They get out. He's just ready to get home. Or she's ready to get home. But, our guy Rob is taking too long for her liking to get the car. So she decides to go up to the elevator. She calls him. She tells him she used it like a normal person, and it worked. And he's like, man, I can't stand you already. So, that's a good sign. He's mad. She killed his vibes on the elevator. He proposed. He did a, Dancing with the Stars-esque type dance. And he's all excited. And within 15 minutes, she's mad at him over things he can't control. She says she is tired and it was in his control. And he tells her she's ruining the moment and she's not helping. So they're driving home. She's like, is it safe to drive home this late? He's like, yeah, I do it every day. And she's like, well, yeah, but we have all my fancy luggage that weighs 3,000 pounds in the back. Like, are you sure no one's going to, rob us? And he tells her it isn't so bad. They hear shots now and again, but not often. And she's like, yeah, that's not normal. And he says, he's only heard them a couple times. And they only have one bullet hole in the building, so it isn't so bad. She says, one is too many. A couple gunshots is too many. And immediately when they're talking about this, they see a bunch of cop cars. And she says she doesn't feel safe. Where she lived before was a safer area. And he says she doesn't know about the hood. She only knows what she watches in movies. And she's like, well, you watch the hood movies with me, and they're all in Inglewood, and you're like, oh, I live around the corner from there. So that doesn't help. So if he doesn't want her to be scared, he shouldn't watch those movies with her. But he counts out like 4 cop cars, and he's like, well, that's not our street, though, as if that's better. He's like, we're like a mile away. She's like, 2 minutes? He's trying to justify it by saying, I've lived in worse neighborhoods. It isn't that bad. And it's like, sir, she hasn't. And she's scared. So try to have some compassion, or understanding or something. You're just being defensive. Like, no one wants to live around gunshots, bro. She says in England they don't even have guns or gun crimes, so they aren't used to that. Finally, they make it home. I'm like, gosh, I hope she doesn't have to pee. This would be terrible. But she walks up, she sees the romantic dinner. She thinks that's cute. He asks if she notices anything different. She really doesn't. But he got her a desk so they could game together, and a small little dresser for her clothes. He didn't paint as much as she had wanted. He's like, well, I just painted the patches. But she does say it does look better. She didn't pull a Kim on him or anything. But she says her apartment in England is very different. It's bright and airy and clean. And she doesn't want to live there. She hopes, to move somewhere nicer. And right now, this just feels temporary for her. She tells him, it feels like a man's home. She wants to get some pink decor or something. And, it's so small they don't have a room for a table or nothing. He does say he wishes he could give her more, but he can't, so he's just trying to stay positive. And, he's not going to let that get to him. He's just going to live in denial so he doesn't feel guilty or whatever it was he said. They sit and eat. She has the ring on the wrong finger. Neither of them have any wedding knowledge, so they're going to get How to Do a Wedding for Dummies book and figure that out. So I don't know about these guys. They're already kind of like, I'm not that interested, but I feel like they're going to be explosive real quick and their fights are going to be like George and Anfisa. Those are the vibes I'm getting. But they're like the good-looking influencer type couple like Jabri and Miona. So let me know what you guys think about them. All right, everybody. Thanks for sticking around this long. Last up, we're going to talk about, and I can't believe I'm saying this again because we just said this about 18 times. But Gino and Jasmine. Jasmine's finally telling us about her new look. She's saying she's sick of fighting with Gino about everything and she needed some control. So she did something radical. Are you guys ready for this? She cut her hair. Just when you think she's going to talk about all her plastic surgery. Nope. She has her natural hair for the first time. No extensions or anything. It's cute, but it looks like Larissa when she came to America. For sure. She says that it's expensive to upkeep her hair in Panama, but it's even more expensive in the U.S. And she knows that Gino's too cheap to pay up. So now she's just going to embrace her natural hair. Only natural thing there now. So she's packing. She's telling us she wasn't sure she would get on the plane after having to say goodbye to her family. And, you know, Gino just doesn't understand all the sacrifices she's made. But they've been through a lot, and she believes that there isn't anything they can't overcome together. Her sister's crying. She's saying goodbye to Coco, the dog. She says Panama's her home, and it's hard to say goodbye to her family and everything she loves. She gets to the airport, the same one she smears Gino with lipstick at, and she's off. Her first flight is landing in Atlanta. She hopes Gino's ready for her. And I hope Michigan is, honestly. Who cares about Gino? He's bringing her there. Tropical storm Jasmine comes to Michigan. She tells us it's the bravest thing she's ever done. Getting on a plane after saying goodbye to her kids and her family. For Gino. All of this for Gino. And she says she is doing this for her kids. But she feels bad that she's crying and praying she's doing the right thing. I'm probably going to say this a million times. I can't even imagine getting on a plane to be that far away from my kids forever. Forever. Excuse me. Like, it just blows my mind. People can do that. I can't even fathom it. I could never even leave my kids for I don't even leave them for a day. But let's say I could have a vacation, right? In a dream world. I could barely leave them for a week without feeling bad that I didn't bring them with me. I'm sure a lot of us feel that way, and I just can't understand this. Anyway, back in Michigan, Gino's setting out his finest Panama decor. She's been over there crying at the airport. You know, oh, Gino, I love him. I'm doing all this for him. Come to find out, they had a fight last night, and she has blocked him. Like, plot twist, there was really a man in Atlanta the whole time. Gino says that he knows that she blocked him because her picture's gone off the app. So they're not talking. He doesn't even know if she made the flight. He's worried because, he quit his job to make her comfortable. And now he doesn't even know if she's going to make it. But we all know she will. We already saw her get on the plane. She's crying. He's, driving there, talking out all of his anxiety to us. He arrives at the airport with flowers, so good job. They were a little cheap, but, he quit his job. He isn't sure how to feel. Her flight landed, but he doesn't know if she made it. They had a fight, so, even if she made the flight, is she going to come out angry? But then he does mention that she's his soulmate, so he definitely didn't look that up before he said it. What's the definition of soulmate? Not Gino and Jasmine. They would be toxic. Something else. But he does say the arguments need to stop because they only have 90 days to figure out if this will be good or if they should run away. Jasmine arrives in Michigan. She says it's gray, but she's glad that she's in the same building as Gino, and now they don't have to say goodbye again. That is nice. That's a good feeling. She says he only knows how wrong he is and how mad she is if she blocks him. And if she doesn't, he doesn't get it. And, this is just part of their toxic ritual. They just block each other. Luckily, it was a long flight, so she had time to think. And she's just not as mad now. Gino's out there waiting for her. He's still nervous she won't get there because he's blocked. He's standing there with his Walmart flowers. She comes out, she's all smiles running to him, And I was a little happy for them for a second. It was a more wholesome airport moment for them, right? And just like that, they fooled me. And she makes him stick out his tongue, and she does something nasty, and then she keeps talking nasty. I should have known better. That just goes in the file of Gino and Jasmine things I can't unsee. But then finally he notices her hair. He loves it. And she's like, Gino, I love you more than anybody in this world. And it's the hardest thing that she's ever done, and she would have never done it for anyone else. So she wants to promise to start new and forget about yesterday and just have no more fights ever. And they agree. So they'll definitely be fighting within 7 minutes or less. But he's excited to get married. You know, they got 90 days. She's excited to see and smell his house. And I bet that feeling dries up real quick. She's like, I think it'll smell like flowers and cleaning supplies. And then, you know, they're leaving the airport. Poor Jasmine's out here freezing. They get to the car and she can like see his breath in the air and she can't believe it. And she just hates the weather. She says she wasn't made for it. She's afraid to go outside. She feels like she'll get immediate hypothermia and frostbite. And Michigan is the winter version of hell, apparently. And, you know, I think where I live is worse. So, I mean, I'm pretty close to Canada, eh? But she says she should be happy. Michigan screams depression and dark and gloomy. And God didn't want people to live there, but they insisted. So finally they get home. She doesn't like the entrance through the laundry room, but she likes the Panama decorations until she sees that he did the flag wrong and put it upside down. Of course, she noticed the ugly wall colors his ex picked out. She says it smells like dusty garbage, like ruins. He has a recycling bin on the floor like me. Mine's not in the way, though. I'm currently trying to train someone to use it and what items go in there. So that's fun. She's unimpressed by all the canned foods. His cupboard's full of like grocery bags. He's unorganized. It's like a bachelor pad. I mean, it wasn't that dirty or like disgusting. He did try. She's like, if the health inspector comes here, they're going to quarantine them because, you know, our guy Gino definitely has living organisms somewhere in there. Some that haven't even been discovered yet. She finds that he has chocolate milk in his fridge, and apparently that is the root of his gas issues. She tells him he's lucky that he's made it in life this far because he should be done for at this point. She's not a fan of his frozen food. And she tells us that she didn't really have high expectations, but this house is worse than she thought. And if he doesn't change, she doesn't know that she can stay there. Now they go upstairs, and the dog already peed. She tries to deny it, and of course, that isn't gross to her. That won't get them quarantined. That's acceptable. But the recycling cans, that's too much. She arrives to the bedroom. He's like, oh, look at the view. And she's like, yeah, more dead trees. And he's like, well, they won't always be that way, Jasmine. She goes to the bathroom. This guy left a poo-poo in there for her. And, you know, at least she laughed about it. She does like the tub in the bathroom and the space. But she wants a new toilet. And, like, I agree. That was a crusty toilet. And she wants to redo the tiles on the floor. And he's like, don't forget about money. And she's like, yeah, I know. And then she goes to the bed. She wants to know how old it is. He hesitates, but he does say, like, he definitely got it after his divorce and stuff. He says, you know, there's, like, stains and stuff all over the sheets from all the lotion. And she knows what's up. She's like, am I going to get pregnant sitting here? She tells him she wants a new bed frame, new sheets, pillows, all of it. She wants to be comfortable. And, you know, Gino's worried about his job that he didn't tell her he quit. And Jasmine needs to get a t-shirt about all the stuff that she did and gave up for Gino to be here. and all of that, so she can stop saying it every 5 minutes. And, all the stuff she wants to change stresses him out because he can't afford this stuff until he works. So probably a year from now. And Jasmine doesn't know that. Plus, he has to pay for her dream wedding. And a new wedding dress because she used her wedding dress money to get new booty cheeks. So that's great. I am so sick of these two. But I will say, Jasmine looks like a whole new person, so I guess, new character. Plus, at least we're seeing them on Gino's turf. She's going to hate it. I think that'll bring me a little enjoyment, seeing her live in Michigan winter. But anyways, guys, that was all the couples for this week. I am hoping to get both episodes of The Other Way out this week. I know I'm one behind and the other one comes out tomorrow or today, depending on when this uploads. And actually the new 90 Day just aired a couple hours ago, but I just got done with my sister's birthday dinner. She turned 30. I spent the last 2 days making homemade enchiladas and Spanish rice and refried beans and all of that stuff from scratch, and cleaning my house because I hosted this birthday. And aside from that, let's see, about a week and a half ago, my boyfriend moved here from Kentucky, and he moved in with me, and my house has been pure chaos ever since. We had to find space for his stuff and his clothes and try to reorganize and make room and get him acclimated to the area and the kids. And we're still working on that. And we've been so busy day and night trying to get everything figured out. And we finally have it mostly in order to where I don't have to spend all my evening helping him find places for things and stuff like that. So yeah, I've been dealing with that. I got the kiddos, I got appointments. It's been nonstop running. I feel like I'm losing my mind, like I'm spread extra thin because this wonderful person, he moved here for me, and now I'm all that he has for the moment, and I have to help get him acclimated. But that takes a lot of time away from my normal schedule and what I normally do, and having someone else in my space all the time is an adjustment. So I will be working that schedule out. It's a great time. I'm really happy. My son's happy. The twins seem to be cool. And yeah, so that's been great. Also, some point during the week, my mom had a mole removed recently, and it came back like positive for melanoma or some form of it was cancerous. So that's been a little hard to deal with for a couple days. She has to go back for some other test, and then she has to go back every 4 months. So if you guys know anything about that and can help me out, it worried me a lot. She is definitely my rock, just like most people's moms are, and I don't know how I would raise my kids if she wasn't with me, So I'm just praying for the best for her. I've been trying to comfort my sister through that, stay positive myself, help my whole new household get figured out. And all I've been thinking about every day is how badly I just want to do this. It's so much fun. It's such an outlet. I can vent. I can talk about things going on with me. Yeah, and that's pretty much what's been going on. I've just been super busy. By the time I get to bed and I have time to watch my shows, I am so tired I can't even do it. Also, I took my boy swimming the other day. I went swimming. I was doing flippies and handstands and jumping in, and I couldn't move for a good day after that. But it was nice. I hadn't been swimming since I lost a bunch of weight, so that was cool. Yeah, just a lot going on. I'm sure I missed a couple things, but I really love and appreciate you guys. I'm glad you're here. I'm glad you've been patient with me. I appreciate that. I plan on getting these 3 videos out this next week. That's my goal. I feel that I could switch my schedule around to where I do it in the morning when my kids go to school and I have a couple hours of quiet time. So hope that works for y'all. I'll still be here. Like I said, I love this. I guess I could end with a positive thing. Today, my daughter was in her car seat and I had brought in the groceries, and usually I bring in the groceries and I come out and get them. It's just easier. And if you don't know, my twins are nonverbal autistic. So I go out there and she was crying, and I said, "Don't cry, Ivy, it's okay." And she looked at me and she said, "Don't cry, Ivy, it's okay." And it made my entire week. It melted my heart. And she's been saying A is for something, and B, she's been saying like okay, and she's been busting out a lot more words. So I'm really excited about that. My other twin, on the other hand, has been a complete hellion, and he's been throwing things and jumping and attacking his sister. Like he slammed her face in the screen door, and he's just been like ruthless. And I'm trying to figure it out. And my sister, who is, she knows him very well, pointed out that for like the last week or so, my son has been really into watching like the Jack parts of Incredibles 2, or like Auntie Edna Babysits, or Jack Attacks. And that's exactly how he was acting. So he thinks he's Jack, and his sister's the little raccoon, and he's having the time of his life. So no more Jack in this house. But other than that, I'm doing great. I'm happy. I'm excited for a new chapter in my life. I'm adjusting to it. I appreciate you guys sticking it out with me while I do that. Eventually my boyfriend will be working here, and I'll have some alone time. I used to hate being alone, and then I got forced to be alone for a few years, and then now I'm readjusting to not being alone. Life is just funny that way. I hope you guys are doing wonderful. Thanks for sticking it out with me. I love you guys. I hope you take your deep breaths and drink, water, stay hydrated, do something nice for someone. You never know, like what a little smile could do, or like a, "Hey, I like your makeup," could make someone's whole day. So I'll talk to you guys on the next one. Thanks for hanging out. Bye.